You know, the more I played this game, the more it felt like Ghost in the Shell. And that is a good thing. Yo, what is up guys, this is Tyrannic Swine here and welcome back to another game review. This time I am doing Deus Ex Human Revolution, a first-person, third-person, open-world type shooter stealth game. Yes, there's a lot of game types in this specific game. And it is set in the year 2027, and you are known as Adam Jensen, who is basically a security bodyguard at a cybernetic industry company who makes cybernetic implants. And the journey begins when the company you work for is attacked by an enemy organization or a terrorist organization, and you end up getting injured. And so, to save your life, you have been heavily augmented with cybernetics, and you must find the person who is responsible for that attack in order to find your missing girlfriend. So yeah, while uncovering the truth behind the entire plot and what their reasons were. Now, I'm gonna say this, the story for Deus Ex Human Revolution was quite interesting, but the thing is, what it lacked was thrill in the story. Now, it was interesting, don't get me wrong, I liked it, but every time but there was never a point in time where I was getting really, like, the story was getting suspenseful or dangerous. Like, it was just going at a very steady pace most of the time. You were just basically defeating the enemies through every section. So I'd say the story was interesting and complex, but it sort of felt a bit lackluster throughout the entire story, or throughout the entire game. And so yeah, it has a number of characters. The voice acting is pretty good compared to a lot of other games, but most of the characters in this game aren't really all that decent, honestly. I found them mostly boring. There was very few that I specifically liked, apart from the main character Adam himself, who was practically the best guy, but seems to put on this Batman type voice for some reason to make him sound cool. Though, to be honest, I was fine with that because he felt like a cool character anyway. And since this is another type of open world game, you can also interact with people throughout the game, and it starts a conversation choice cycle, a lot like with Mass Effect, Fallout, and the Elder Scrolls games, where you can choose what you want to say. And there's even a point in time in the game where you're able to expand upon these conversations by exploiting certain things, which will give a character where at some point a character will be able to spill some information for you that you need desperately, depending on what you choose to make him give up that information. So yeah, overall I'd say the story for Deus Ex Human Revolution was decent, good, and interesting, but it felt pretty lackluster and the characters were pretty meh. So I'd say it was, so yeah, it was okay, but it could have been done a little bit better. Now, let's talk about the way the game works. Now, this is a first-person, open-world, stealth-type shooter, but when you go into cover, it goes into a third-person viewpoint so you can have extra visibility of your surroundings. Not only that, because it's also a stealth shooter, there's multiple ways you can take multiple paths through a mission. Like, you can go in guns blazing if you have the ammo, and you can go for the better option, which is a stealth route. Now, there is a lot of limitations to the way the game works, and basically there is a limited number of times when you can take down an enemy, because you have a energy bar. So you can only take down a certain number of enemies, and also it depends on how many times you've upgraded your energy bar too. And to refill the bar, you need to eat these cybernetic energy bars, so it's very handy when you find those. But another thing about this game is that it relies heavily on the augmentations or upgrades throughout the game, and these actually do work very well throughout the game, giving you very nice upgrades that definitely will help you throughout the game for different situations. Like there's an augmentation that will allow you to hack cameras, turrets, and even some doors. There's one where you're allowed to move heavier objects, which allows you to go to secret areas that you couldn't reach before. There is fall damage in the game, but there is an augmentation which allows you to not get any fall damage, so you're allowed to fall gracious. You go into an animation where you fall graciously to the floor, which is also pretty cool. You can become active camo, which, like I said, feels very Ghost in the Shell-like. And there's even a Typhoon missile system, which is sort of like a cool ground pound of some sorts. So yeah, the augmentations in this game are very useful, especially if you want to be going more the stealth option, since a lot of them go mostly to that route. Like for example, the active camo, and even if when you're running around, since the enemies can hear you since the enemies are pretty reactive to your sound movements, you can even have augmentations where you can even run silently and they won't even hear you. So I'd say most of the augmentations are primarily used for more the stealth way. But there is augmentations which help you out for going all guns blazing as long as you have the ammo. Now, like I said before, with having ammo, there is an inventory system too, which allows you to have a certain amount of gear with you. So when you're going through each different area, make sure you have the proper equipment with you. For example, make sure you have at least a stun type weapon with you, because they are very necessary when it comes to using the stealth option. But you can also carry at least 3 primary weapons. And there is quite a lot of weapons throughout the game. There's like an assault rifle, shotgun, pistol, a crossbow even, sniper rifles, plasma rifles even, and hey, rocket launchers are around too, because you're not just going to be fighting against normal infantry type enemies. Now, if you're going through the stealth option, there is 2 ways you can take down an enemy. You can take him out silently, or just basically knock them out, or you can take him out in the lethal way, which is use like these giant wrist-mounted knives that come out of nowhere. But that option I wouldn't recommend most of the time, since it makes more noise than the knockout option. So yeah, the way the augmentations really do actually help throughout the game, especially since this game is a bit more difficult compared to a lot of other games. So, and also make sure to save a lot too if you're going to be using going on the harder difficulties, because saving is definitely a lifesaver if you're in a difficult situation, since this game is notoriously quite difficult at times. So getting into a gunfight is not really the right option by my recommendation. Always go for the stealth route for most of the time, unless you have no other option. Now, let's talk about the world itself. Now, there is multiple areas that you can go to throughout the game, ranging from the United States to China. And I must say, the way the megacity looks in China looks amazing, but I was I think I was a little disappointed by the scenery and the locations of the game, because it looked very too similar or familiar, like you're just basically in a cramped, narrow street area. So I was really wanting to see more of what this world had in store for me, and really all I got was just like your usual slums and everything that you see in a lot of other open world type games. But it was actually quite interesting, because it shows how evolved how separate things are between humanity, like the cybernetics and the non-cybernetics, really, and it shows how everything's gone to crap, really. And it's actually a lot more, the open world part of the game is actually a lot more has more freedom than you think, since you can just go around beating people up whenever you like, and there's even side missions too that will help you out when it comes to upgrading yourself for the augmentations. And they also, like, there's a lot, by exploring a lot, you can find some goodies along the way. And if you go down an alleyway, you can find your usual scumbag gangster that will get in your way at times. But doing so, you can also find some vendors which will give you some weapons and ammunition in case you need any to buy when you run out, or for when you're preparing for later missions, because trust me, you're going to want to prepare. Because some missions will throw a lot of enemies at you, and not just normal infantry types, but there's also heavy enemy types as well that have like giant Gatling machine guns, and hell, there can even be giant mechanized robots that will attack you at times. And you definitely will want to be prepared for when those come into action. Now, I liked how the missions played out. They did change over time, different type of enemies, the different ways you can go through that mission, like stealth or open this guns blazing usually, but most of the time the stealth route is the better option, like I've said before. So I did like how the world was structured too. The graphics are pretty cool. It has a nice dark tone to it, and the soundtrack is pretty nice too. It fits very nicely with the futuristic-esque of the game. So, and it was quite enjoyable to listen to at times. So you got that spot right in somewhere. So yeah, I'd say the way the world was structured and created was done pretty damn well. Now, also in the game, there's certain points in the game where you will reach a boss battle. Now, there's 4 of them overall, and each of them is quite different in their own way, and they can be enjoyable as well. Like the first one is just basically you need to run around and avoid the enemy's attacks. The second one is just most of the time the boss battles you have to keep evading your enemy, and then you have to shoot them at a certain point. But they're quite challenging in their own way. You really need to figure out when the right point to attack is necessary, because these enemies can come out of nowhere and kick your ass, and it can be quite annoying at times. But if you just keep at it, you will eventually prevail and move on to the next session. I did like the boss battles in this game too. They were, like I said, they were pretty challenging. But yeah, but the final boss battle was quite disappointing, really. It's very quick to do. It's like you just need to hack a module and then fight a few enemies, and that's it really. I feel like it was supposed to last longer, but maybe I just found a way to beat it quicker, which basically helped me out. And so, like I said, there is also hacking in the game, and I did like the way the hacking worked in this game. You really had to take note of which nodes to capture because of the duration it'll take to hack them. And I think they did the hacking in this game particularly well compared to a lot of other games. And it was quite enjoyable, and it's actually pretty rewarding too if you keep at it with the hacking sometimes, because there's like little virus softwares programs that you can use to halt the countdown, which is trying to lock you out, or you can just instantly finish a node with another software program. So I did enjoy the hacking in this game as well. So overall, I'd say Deus Ex Human Revolution is a pretty decent stealth first-person open-world shooter, but with the story lacking in thrill and suspense, and its characters could have been done a little bit better. But overall, I'd say this is a pretty good game to play. Its stealth mechanics and combat. The stealth and combat mechanics have been done particularly well. I thoroughly enjoyed the augmentations, and it has some decent boss battles too. And the open world itself was actually pretty good looking at times. So, overall, I'm going to give Deus Ex Human Revolution an 8 out of 10. So, that is my review of Deus Ex Human Revolution, a decent first-person open-world stealth shooter, and so if you're interested, this is a good game to pick up. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this review. Leave a like, comment down below of what you think about the game, whether good points and bad points, subscribe, and I shall see you guys in the next random video.